Welcome to RVing in New England, the nation's only forum that puts you on stage with some of the biggest names in the RV industry. And now your hosts, John DePietro and Bob Zagami.
Hey, everybody.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Welcome once again to RVing in New England. Bob Zagami is back.
Got a good group. Yeah, good group tonight already.
Got a great group, and we want to say thank you, special thank you to Bernie Colton for pinch hitting last week while you were down in Lynchburg, Tennessee. Is that where you were?
I was in Indiana for the Eagles concert for my wife's birthday, and then on the way home, we stopped at Jack Daniels and spent a day checking out the new Tennessee Squire Room, checking out the new visitor center, spending a lot of money, and then heading home.
Okay. So before we head home, before we go any further, we need to head to Saco, Maine to see and check in with our friends at Seacoast RV. You know, they've got Winnebago towables. They've got Winnebago drivables. They've got elevation park models. They got crop park models. And the interesting thing is they're the #1 dealer for both of those park model companies in the United States, which is really something. Nice people, Kenny, Amanda, the whole crew, the 3 dogs or 4 dogs, depending upon what time of day you go in.
And but, as we saw from our trip to Goshen and Elkhart a few weeks ago, if you've ever thought about destination camping and park models, and you haven't really looked at park models for 4 or 5 years, the things that they are doing with these homes are absolutely amazing.
And I think, Bob, if you took pictures inside them and didn't show, you know, the walls, you would think you were in a stick, because they really are a stick-built home. They're 2x6 or 2x4 or 2x6 construction, Anderson windows, regular full-size appliances, not tiny miniature appliances. It's a great value.
We should, you know, they're such a good sponsor. We should do one of our shows in the next, month or so and dedicate it to park models and have Trevor Krupp come in from Krupp and give them a half hour, and then have Joel Letterman do a half hour on elevation and talk about their construction, their products, and park model industry. So if you fans there's a lot of you out there tonight. If you would like to see a show like that, because we don't want to, put something on that you don't like. I mean, we're, as John says many times, the only reason we're here is you're here. I don't know what the hell we're doing on Wednesday night.
Let me ask our audience. You're breaking up with me. You're freezing and your voice is staggered. Let me ask our audience to say, is Bob coming through okay with you guys? Just let us know down there. In the meantime,
let me know, because I don't want to be an aggravation. I can be an innocent bystander and just talk a little bit before we do that.
Let's look who we have on here. We got Walter Swenson. Walter looks like he took another day off yesterday.
He did. He spent the whole. I'm surprised he's on. He's probably all tired out from running around Hollywood studios all day.
Probably got a good 10,000 steps in yesterday.
10? Wasn't it 15?
I don't know.
No, he's getting all kinds of exercise.
He does. He tells us everything he eats, everything he drinks, how many steps, and next thing you know, he's going to tell us how many trips to the men's room he makes. But we don't care to hear about that. But
I think you're getting some brief stuff, John. I'm going to go from the bottom up, because I kind of like the comments at the bottom. Walter says, taking every other Tuesday and Thursday off from work. 19,000 steps yesterday. Frank Belange's on. Frank's going to head down to the Tampa Super Show in January. I'm going to try to catch up with him down there. Tim says Bob is the star of the show. Well, thank you, Tim.
Yeah, because you paid him.
Sandra must be a member of the Keenan fan club, because I don't recognize that name. Jerry Plant says Bob's good. It's John DePietro, but we know Jerry's just busting chops there. Steve Hogan, hello. Ed Laturco says I'm clear. Bernie Culloden says I'm fine.
Must be mine.
Plant Park Model Show, good idea. Ryan Hadley, good evening, guys. He's busy, right? This week is Ryan's winterizing only week. If you want you get a mechanical problem this week, You got to
You're in
wait till
trouble.
next week because the man is going crazy on winterizations.
Yeah. And let me tell you this.
Pick it up at
called
Teams
Ryan
at
the other day.
7:03. What?
I called Ryan the other day. He called me back within a couple of hours. He'll be there next week, and it's winterization time. Tim is cooking bacon, cheddar, and cabbage grilled cheese in Irving.
Well, take out the cabbage, and it might be a good sandwich.
Yeah. Bill Sell is in Eastern Mass.
I don't know if that's a sandwich. Yeah, grilled cheese sandwich. Yeah. Anybody else ever put cabbage on a grilled cheese sandwich?
Well, hey, different folks, different strokes. Bernie's
I'm just wondering if I'm missing something in life. What do we got? Who else we got? The Cell, Charlie Butler,
Steve Russell,
the Turco, High Z, Bernie,
and Ryan says turning to next week
Steve
too.
Hogan, and of course Walter was the first one.
Yeah. Well, hey, we got great guests tonight, but we're talking about the great state of Maine. And 2 weeks ago, Jim Roy, our friend from Silver Moose Restorations, invited me up to a vintage trailer group up in Booth Bay, Maine. And we went up there. And, a few years ago when we met Jim Rogers, who was the CEO of KOA at the time, he said there's magic in the campfire. And I'm sure, Palanga's a big campfire guy. He always brings a ton of wood with him. Yep. They live by the campfire with that group. And we went out by a campfire, and a couple of people brought guitars and started singing. And if you're all queued up on that, if you have a Cougar RV, you're going to like this song that one of the campers put together that night.
Fair enough.
My Cougar RV, it rolls with me from the lakes down to the sea. She was born in 1983. My Cougar RV, it rolls with me. Ain't made of wood, ain't made of stone. Ain't a fancy ranch or a bungalow. It's got 6 wheels and all of them can roll. My house, my home, everywhere I go. It's got a fridge, it's got a stove, I cook my eggs, and whenever I want my beer, it's cold. My house, my home, roll with me. It roll with me.
That's pretty clever. But she sounds like she's from Tennessee. She could play around the Jack Daniels campfire.
Well, maybe she could.
And when we were there last Wednesday, not this week, last Wednesday, there's only about 200 parking spaces in Lynchburg, Tennessee. 10 or 20, a couple of hundred at the visitors parking lot, and maybe 200 downtown. Well, last Friday and Saturday, they had the Jack Daniels International Barbecue competition. It's called Smoke in the Hollow. They had 82 teams from 13 different countries.
Barbecue.
And between Saturday and Sunday of the competition, they were going to have 35 to 40,000 people in Lynchburg, Tennessee. They were parking them miles away and using school buses to bring them in. Just a bit of trivia for you.
Did you partake in any of the barbecue?
No, it was Saturday and Sunday, and we were there. I'm sorry, it was Friday and Saturday. We were there on Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they were still packed.
I'm told that they know how to put barbecue together down there. I mean, you can't get a good Italian food down there, but you
don't go to Lynchburg, Tennessee for Italian food.
Right. And, you don't come to New England for good barbecue either.
And they don't allow McDonald's or Burger King either.
In the town?
Right.
Wow.
No.
Jeez.
This is down in the holla. All right.
Okay. We've got a great guest tonight. It's a repeat guest performance with Jim and Susan Keenan. And when were they on? A couple months
They
ago?
were on one of our regular, they jumped in on one of our regular programs.
About a month ago.
Oh, it just took over?
There you go. You're looking.
No, you asked us to come.
Right. We did. We did ask you to come on that night.
Yeah.
Right.
And you talked a little bit about it, and I said, you know, this is such a great trip. And I told you before the show, these guys have got some incredible photographs. But before we do that, let's assume that some of the people have no clue who Jim Keenan is or his wife Susan. So Jim, why don't you give us a little bit of your background? And they know you from Pete's RV maybe, but there was a lot more to Jim Keenan than just RV sales.
I've done a few things, right? So I did retire from the RV business, from Pete's RV. Probably one of the 5 best years that I spent in the RV business. Prior to that, I had 3 other different careers, and now I'm in my 4th. It's called retirement. It's a great career move. I highly recommend it, and we're enjoying it.
That's great. That's great. All right, let me just do this. Some reason I just lost DePietro, but I know he's had some problems with his cameras. Who decided to do this? I know you had another trip the other year, but who decided? I'd call it a bucket list trip. Did you call it a bucket list trip or
Yeah.
Part A.
First of a few.
Part A? And why did you want to do it?
Well, I'll take it.
This is worse.
There you go. We've never really traveled road trips west of the Mississippi. We've done up and down the East Coast like, most families do. We had 3 young boys, and we did the Disney thing and the pop-up camper. And then I got into boats, and we built boats and had boats for 20 years. And when I first got into the RV business, I always envisioned that we'd end up with some kind of an RV.
Oops.
You still got us? It turned out to be this 38-foot Class A that we're sitting in. And we just want to drive the wheels off it because we didn't buy it to park it. And
it is a nice one, that's for sure.
That's at 9,666 feet up in the mountains.
Heading into the east entrance of Yellowstone.
Yeah.
How'd you keep it so clean?
We picked the right colors.
Yeah.
Huh? Is that something you advised your prospects or your customers that tell them what color is going to work, one's going to stay clean?
Yeah, full body paint is always a good investment. You'll always get it back on the resale, and it's kind of a big boy toy. It looks cool.
How is it easier to keep a full body paint clean versus decals and regular things?
Absolutely.
Or you certainly have some personal responsibility, and yours is very clean. So talk a little bit about why that's so important. And I'm sure you told your customers about that too.
Yeah, well, I mean, I take some pride in it, obviously, and I like to keep it clean, and it is easy to clean. Bucket and a brush and a hose and a rinse off and a foam gun and anything else that I might need. And I can wash this coach in maybe an 8-hour period. I usually divide it up into 2 days because ladders are not good on my artificial joints. But other than that, we're good.
Wow. Have you ever used one of those car washes or automatic ones on the coach?
The blue beacon?
We did do a blue diamond? Blue beacon. Thank you.
Right.
Yes, we did do a blue beacon. And I got to say, I was impressed.
That was cool.
Yeah, I was impressed. They did a really nice job, including the undercarriage, which you don't get to do in your driveway as much.
Bob, a lot
of do yourself
are automated that you drive through, but the ones that we know of, they're not automated. There are actual humans in that building.
Oh, yeah, there was like 8 people in that bay, and they all had a specific task, and they knocked it out.
Right. Yeah. So they're not those things that you drive through with all of the brushes hitting against.
No.
Brushes.
No. I'm not putting this paint job through that torture.
One of the first pictures that Susan sent me, I think, sums up your vision of the trip, but it should be the mantra for anybody who drives down with a motorhome or a trailer.
Go get it. I can't.
Right?
Okay, it's always take the scenic route. When we were in one of our first stops, I can't remember if it was in the Badlands or in the Custer area, somewhere as one of the shops, and that that little plaque just called me, and I bought it. Didn't even show it to Jim and stuff. It was like $8, but that was the total, like you said, the total mantra of our show. And when we look our trip rather, and when we look back, that's always been kind of the way we've done things as well.
Okay. Hey, for those that didn't watch the show that we were on,
You're breaking up, John.
I'm breaking up again, huh?
Yeah. What?
A little bit.
I'm on my now.
Yeah.
I'm on my,
You're cracking.
can you give us your itinerary and your duration?
Sure. We were out for 9 weeks.
Yeah.
We did come home a few days early. We kind of, I guess, ran out of stamina or things to do. I don't know which. We headed west through Ohio, Pennsylvania, Ohio, into a couple more states. And ultimately, our first big stop was in, we stopped up on the Lake Erie at the Indiana Dunes State Park.
Well,
National Park.
National Park.
Susan, let's do this because you were nice enough to put them in
We can do it that way.
chronological order. So I will pop it up and then we can talk about it.
So in a nutshell, we went as far west as Denver and came home.
Okay.
Boom. Oops, I already did that one. I love this picture, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's a Harvest Host, and this is what you typically expect to see. You just never know.
It was a winery / lavender farm / brewery / very eclectic stuff /
Is that the one that had the corn maze also?
No, that was in Mitchell, South Dakota. This was in earlier in our trip, maybe in Ohio. I think this was the one in Ohio.
On the way out.
It was cool.
And
then this was in Indiana Dunes up on Lake Erie.
The national park.
Yeah, we had come through a very significant tornado warning as we were getting into the state park there, and it was scary to us. Fortunately, we didn't get hit, but it was still pretty freaky. But we stayed, and then we went out. It was kind of a nasty day, and the one thing we took away from Indiana Dunes was it was kind of okay, but that picture was of several houses that were brought from the World's Fair many years before, and they got rebuilt on that area to kind of like the houses of tomorrow or something.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like Tomorrow World, and what would you envision to be the house of Tomorrow World? And they had like 4 or 5 examples in various states of disrepair.
Yeah.
You hear a lot about Indiana Dunes. A lot of people, you see it on Facebook posting, what's the big draw for Indiana Dunes?
Well, it's probably the only national park that's in a neighborhood. It's part of a town, and around it is a state park. So the entire area is pretty interesting. It's small. I would give it, if you're passing through, I wouldn't give it more than maybe half a day, a full day, and that's all you really need.
Yeah. But I guess there are big sand dunes there, but we didn't go find them.
It was kind of miserable.
It was kind of a nasty day. Yeah. But then let's.
Oh wait, John, you got a question there?
Yeah, whereabouts in Indiana? What end of
on Lake Michigan, way up at the tip, on the top of Indiana. It was.
Indiana,
it was on Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
Or Lake Erie.
Then you were very close to Elkhart and Goshen. Did you stop in and say hello to the boys?
We were there.
We did that on a previous trip.
We were there in the spring, and we're actually going to be back there hopefully in January. There's a Jayco owners group that's going to be having a rally there in Shipshewana in January.
That's next October.
Next October, sorry.
Yeah, January is not a good time to.
No, we're going to be in Tampa at the Tampa show at a Jayco rally.
Hey, Jim, just a little bit of a side here, but after this trip, I saw I think it was in the Hershey show.
Mm-hmm.
Was that your first show selling since you made your trip?
Yes.
Okay. Did it make you a better salesperson because you just spent 9 weeks in something selling?
The verdict is out. I don't know. That was a weird show for me. I don't know if it was because I was still on the high of coming from the trip, but it's kind of a weird show.
How do you mean that,
but
Jim?
it does give me stories to tell. It does put some context to, when I'm showing a unit, what the different things mean. And, you know, I'll say to somebody, what do you do with that? Well, we use that for our vacuum cleaner, or we do this with that. Or it does give me some context and maybe some credibility too. I don't know.
Yeah, but what part, where do you get the weird part? Why
Hershey?
the weird?
I don't know. There was kind of I don't know if anybody else mentioned it, but it had a kind of a buzz that was like everybody was a little leery, a little bit apprehensive, a little bit not ready to take the plunge. You know, you're looking at a $250,000 rig or a $100,000 fifth wheel, and you know it's like, well, maybe not the right time. Interest rates, I think, have a huge amount to do with that.
Yep.
Political climate may have something to do with it, as we know. Election years always cause some turmoil, especially in the disposable income markets, boats, houses, RVs, motorcycles, vacations, cruises, stuff like that.
Interesting. All right. So where'd you run into this guy?
We did a straight shot across Minnesota. We stayed in Wisconsin the night before and breezed through Minnesota to get into South Dakota, I guess. He was a landmark out there on the side of the road. I think we were on Route 80 at the time, maybe. Mm-hmm. And it was a good stopping point. They had like a museum factory for whatever the brand name that it sells Jolly Green Giant.
That was the Jolly Green Giant, right?
Yeah, it's the Jolly Green Giant. The guy's huge. I mean, we would have, you know, maybe come up to just above the well.
Oh, you can see the size of the cars.
Yeah, he was huge. It was a schlocky thing. And again, take the scenic route. These are the things that kind of gave us a lot of the joy, a lot of the serendipity.
Was it a real person or a statue?
No, it's huge. It was about 40 feet tall.
I think it's a fiberglass statue. Yeah.
You know, but everybody had to stop and get a picture.
So when you say take the scenic route, did you just take a route and see what you found, or did you use some planning software that you identified beforehand the commodities that you wanted to look at? Okay.
I use RV Trip Wizard to do my routes and to pick out campgrounds. We watch a ton of YouTubers, a lot of the professional YouTubers, and kind of glean a little bit here, a little bit there. Kind of, Jim would yell at me for being on my computer. He thought it was like 8 hours a flipping day, but it wasn't. And just kind of building this stuff and hearing about things. And I says, let's do these kind of stuff. When we get a little farther in, you'll see more. We really took scenic routes. We took hundreds of miles of back gravel,
roads, dirt roads,
and it was incredible.
Yeah.
We should talk to Andy Rabinowitz and Patrick Buchanan at RV Life and tell them that you guys should do a commercial for them so that we could use the commercial in our other show, the Camper Report show.
Yeah.
We've done commercials before.
Then we'll have to get our guild card back.
Something else. I don't know, Jim, if you're going to be selling at the Boston show this year.
If I'm invited, yeah. I know Megan. I've talked to Megan a couple of times, and they'll fly me up from Florida, and I'll do a handful of shows. I'm going to be in the New England area.
If Susan was coming up with you, if we could work it out, I'd love to have you guys do a seminar on the trip and talk to the audience about, you being a sales rep, you understand it, you sold them, and guess what? This is the fun that you can have. But put that in the back of your mind.
We'll take that offline. That's perfect.
Maybe we can work that out.
I'm looking forward to my quilting time when he's gone, Bob.
Jerry did say stay off the interstates, and I think that was one of the takeaways we got when we came back. Being fairly new at this, we've only got 20,000 miles on our coach so far in 18 months. So, we're rolling, but we're going to dedicate ourselves or commit ourselves to use more of the U.S. roads rather than the interstates.
Sure.
It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more relaxing.
Not as much construction.
Can you read comments, John, or is your screen too small?
No.
I'm seeing them.
No, you can't?
I cannot read comments on the phone.
Okay, let me I want to go back up there because we don't want to lose sight of our audience. Let me catch up where we were.
I wonder if I can be on in both.
Well, you might be able to fire it up. What do we got here? Walter. Okay, that's about where we left off. Steve says from Longview, Stephen from Longview, average steps 17,000. Is that would be a month for me, Stephen? I'm not sure if you mean a day. Steve Russell, hello, Bob. All right, Steve Russell. In case you folks didn't catch our last show, or no, we just did on the Camp Report show. Steve is the rep for Rustic Trail Teardrops. They joined NERVDA, and they're looking for dealers on some quality built teardrops, and the price point for the quality is amazing, $10,000 to $20,000, and you ought to see these things. So we're going to introduce him to some of our dealers, and hopefully they will pick it up. And he lives in Connecticut, and him and his wife Amy Lee, if I got that, Amber Lee, got that right, Steve? They actually spent a year full-timing before they had their baby, full-timing in a teardrop trailer. But we'll bring Steve on one of these days and have a conversation.
That's dedication.
That is dedication. Ryan says it's turned into next week also. Good business. Frank's got an emoji, and I can't even read that one. Steve says we are going camping in a few weeks, so too early to winterize. Yeah, you don't want to winterize just yet if you still got camping. Jerry says, I beat Walter by a half a second. Last trip of the season at Scusset. Guys like that Scusset.
We love it.
Great.
Bernie says, love it. It's a hit. I have no clue what he's talking about.
The song. That's
the song.
Oh, the song. Okay. Steve Hogan, it's a holla, not a hollow. You're right, Steve. You're right. I didn't think they'd understand it if I gave the pure definition as they speak it down in Tennessee. Tim's lost to Peter or cut him off. No, I didn't cut him off. He's having some challenges there. Bernie says beautiful. Tim says nice coach.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Randy Murray from Pete's RV. Well,
Hi, Randy.
I think you guys might know Randy.
Yeah, we do. Speed dial. No, only kidding.
The joke with Randy, as he posts his pictures with him in the lower left-hand corner, is what zip code he's in these days because he travels so much. So, Randy, enlighten us as to which zip code you are in tonight. Jerry says, stay off the interstate. Correct. Steve Hogan. Did you get a lemon, Jim?
We have lemonade in the fridge.
Yeah.
No.
You didn't get a lemon RV, if that's what you're talking about. He's got a great RV. Now that is the Jayco, which model?
Precept Prestige.
Precept Prestige, yeah. Walter Swenson says, we love Blue Earth, Michigan. That Blue Earth, Michigan?
That's where the Jolly Green Giant was.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Minnesota. It's actually Minnesota.
Okay. Jerry Plant, you missed Paul Bunyan and Babe the Ox.
Yeah, this time around. Next time.
They're in Bangor, Maine. Is it Bangor or Augusta, Jerry? I think it might be Augusta. Bernie Colton. Cole Green Giant. You'll have to do a song about that, Bernie, next time you come on.
Yeah.
Jolly Green Giant and Sprout and Randy, Montville, PA. That's not a zip code, Randy.
Well,
I asked you for a zip code.
If he put the zip code down, were you going to know what it was?
No, then I would ask them.
Right. Well, okay, so he told you. Now, let's get one thing interesting here. Last week, we had a picture of Jim Roy and a lookalike contest winner.
Right.
Okay. When I was in Hershey, actually, right when I was talking to Jim, Randy was there with a tie on. Okay. And there was a gentleman that looked like his brother there with a tie on. So we'll have to send that picture to you.
That is a rare sight. And you know what? We are at the halfway mark here already. So we got a different type of an ad for our friends up at Seacoast RV.
Well, let it ride.
No, Kenny was recognized for the service from Old Orchard Beach. He's a counselor at Old Orchard Beach for going above and beyond. So he got a recent opportunity to be acknowledged. And they want to let you know that there is a fall special. This is kind of an interesting one. You bundle any in-stock Winnebago Hike 100 with any in stock 2024 Winnebago Rebel. So for just $189.9, you get both units. Now this is good because you can tow the trailer behind the Rebel. You can give the trailer to your kids, or you can donate it to somebody else. But that's a great deal, and that is on. I believe that is on the total value of that package, $255,000. So you can buy it for
Great deal.
$189.9. So yeah, it's a great deal, and have that. So remember our friends at Seacoast RV having fun on Route 1. So where should we pick up here, Susan? Let's see. We did.
They're just west of the Jolly Green Giant. So did
Yeah.
you?
There you go.
Yeah.
Did you stop at Wisconsin Dells at all and see all the water parks on your way?
No.
No.
You would have seen around 80. But
You got
Oh,
Not a harvest host.
they found this buzzard along the way.
yeah. This was Porter Sculpture Museum. A very, very eclectic collection of mostly metal art forms that this fellow who owns the land put together. Several of them had poems in with them, very edgy, but it was absolutely beautiful there. We stayed a night. It was like right near the highway.
Right off 90.
Right off Route 90. And when we woke up, we got there and there was a whole, you can see the pastures there and stuff. And we literally parked our coach right along the fence of one of them, and the baby cows came right up to us. Their mums weren't too far behind them because they were fairly new. And we woke up and there were cows at our door in the morning. It was so, I mean, behind the fence. It was really cool.
If you can't read that, it says they are reincarnated politicians ready to pick the bones off their next constituents.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just leave that there. All right, I'm going to speed you a little bit because you got some great photos.
This is the Badlands. We didn't really know too much about the Badlands in South Dakota. I've only ever seen pictures up to that point of kind of coming and seeing them from above. All of a sudden, we drove down this road towards the park that we were staying, the national park entrance, and we were right in the midst of all these look like creatures of these rock formations, and it was just mind-blowing. That was, I think this one was the view from our campground because we were right on the edge of the park, and I was up at like 4:30 every morning trying to take sunrise pictures and out there at night. It was the most fascinating thing I had ever seen to that time in my life.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Go ahead, you tell this one.
So here we are in, we paid this visit to a now defunct missile silo, but they've kept it as an attraction. And the gentleman that did the tour was somebody that actually ran that center. He had his finger on the button for a nuclear warhead.
Wow.
And what had happened was he wanted some paint to paint the interior of this shelter. And he said, I want red, white, and blue. And they sent him these colors. He goes, they're not the colors I wanted. I wanted American flag colors.
Those are
And
domino.
so he said, they're the domino colors. So they came up with this. And this has become a world famous photograph now. We met the guy that did it. And worldwide delivery in 30 minutes or less. So the next one's free. That's a nuclear warhead, by the way, not a pizza.
Here's what you were asking about, John. This is the Corn Palace. It's in Mitchell, South Dakota. I guess back in the early 1900s, they had different kind of expositions all over the place, kind of like mini World's Fairs. I have no idea. But I had no idea what to expect. All of the artwork on the outside of this exhibition hall, which is huge, is built and redone every year with corn stalks, corn ears of corn. It was like absolutely incredible. Inside is a big arena. We had a tour by a young kid, and he told us all about it. Again, something that you would never expect.
So
And that bucket truck is actually assembling or putting together the new art theme for the upcoming season.
Yeah.
So
It was in process of being renewed.
They
so
were
each
gluing
year,
up.
all those art panels are different, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they're always changing, and it's always made out of corn.
Wow, that's crazy.
It was,
Right.
yeah, it was. Had no idea what to expect. This is Dignity. She's on the mouth of the Missouri, on the shore of the Missouri River. I forget where she is. In
A rest area on the highway.
yeah, and she's significant of the I think it's the Lakotas, a couple of the the Native American
One of the
tribes. There.
Indian tribes.
Yeah,
Associated
yeah.
with the Indian tribes.
But if you can peek, we pulled the back view of hers. It's the mosaic on her back, the work on her back is a pattern of one of the most beautiful quilts I've ever seen.
Quilt.
Yeah, so all of the quilters always have to flock to her and say hello. But she's very representative of their the Native American culture.
Any questions, John? I'm going to just make sure we get some other comments.
Walter said he missed the Corn Palace.
Oh, you can read it. Okay.
Oh,
Can you read others?
I've got the audio on the phone.
Well, all right, then pick it up and talk about a couple of them.
So, Walt, that's really Walter, Chamberlain, South Dakota. Is that where the Corn Palace?
No.
Yeah, or close by.
I think that's where Dignity is.
Oh, that might have been where Dignity was.
Okay.
They were all. That was kind of our travel that day, I think.
So let me ask this: your next journey, you're going to take the southern route, or you're going to try to do what you did but go on the back roads, or what's your next?
We haven't really nailed that down yet. We're going to winter in Florida, and then while we're down there, we're going to kind of lay out the next section of time. We didn't get as far as the Pacific Northwest. That's a definite on my bucket list. I definitely want to do that. If anybody knows me well enough, I'm a wooden boat nut. Yes, I have the illness. And I'd like to scratch that itch out with the West Coast because there's some fantastic boat builders out there. And also, just to see, we've been from San Francisco south. We want to go from San Francisco north along the Pacific coast. All
right. Now, if you're a wooden boat nut, you know that Winnebago owns Chris Craft now.
Yep.
So check the route, and if you want to, we'll get you some VIP tickets to tour.
That'd be awesome.
Chris Craft plant.
Well, Chris Craft is being built in Florida now.
Chris Craft is in Florida?
I believe so.
I'll check it out. I'll check it
out. I have two Chris Crafts less than 30 feet away from me.
You do?
Yes.
How old are they?
In your backyard, or?
Well, I have one that needs a restoration. That's a 1953. It's older than I am. Then I have another one that I'm building from scratch. That'll be a replica of a 1941. But you know what? Those projects will take forever. Every boat builder tells you it takes 2 years. So when it's finished, it's 2 years early.
Wow. That's pretty cool. What's this?
That's a waterfall along. Oh,
that's not navigable.
Susan,
I'm not sure where that was. It might have been in Sioux Falls. I'm not sure. But again, it's representative of all the waterfalls we saw. Those were the things that drew my heart.
All right. I'm bad, Susan, but I had figured out that it was a waterfall.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying it's.
I just need to say, what is this?
What do you think? This was we went to the rodeo in Cody, Wyoming.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun.
That's the rodeo clown.
That's the clown.
Oh.
He's mouthy. He's hilarious. He's the one with a couple of other guys that kind of distract the bull when he finally throws his rider and is ready to stomp the heck out of him. And they get in the way, and
they stuffed him in a barrel and let the bulls push him around.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. Fun in Cody. This is the sign for it's called Hart Mountain. It's a World War II National Historic Landmark. It's fairly newly being renovated. I'd never heard of it. I didn't really know the story. Evidently, factually, once Pearl Harbor was bombed by the Japanese, the United States decided to inter many Japanese Americans from the West Coast in multiple places across the country. And this was one of them. They were rebuilding the dormitories and the hospitals and the cemeteries and stuff. The story there is building. We watched some videos. We watch videos everywhere, and that's where we learned so much about the people that were there and the people that they displaced and whatever.
Is that part of a state park or a national park?
No, it's a National Historic Landmark all on its own. It's outside of Cody.
Yeah.
It was
worth a trip if you're in that area.
Again, the scenic route. This is Buffalo built Cody Dam in Cody, outside of Cody, Wyoming. Huge dam. It took forever to build.
They had a labor problem.
They did.
Yeah. Minus 60 degrees, people didn't want to work on a dam.
I don't understand it.
I don't understand it either, Bob. You know,
Boy, what a great deal.
Yeah. Again, the things when you think about taking a trip out west, you know, you look at the big bucket places, such as this one. This is Schwabacker land in South Dakota in Tetons.
Grand Teton?
In Wyoming, sorry, Grand Tetons. That's my favorite place to have been. Custer, and then here.
Yep, in the backdrop of the Waltons, right?
Hey, Mr. Photographer Bob, what do you think of that reflection?
I like that. I like that a lot. Nice smooth water. Yeah.
Yeah, that was taken with my S23 Samsung.
All right.
Yeah. Jim made a friend with the Ranger there. It was really cool. Then we did a couple of other things. Just these are some notable things. We went through Butte, Idaho, and Arco. No, I forget with Berkeley Pit. It was that
was in Butte.
In Butte, Idaho, Montana.
The ore mines.
The ore mines.
Was it iron or gold?
Gold, silver, iron. There was a lot of minerals that they extracted from the ground there. And this was just a representation or a reproduction. Well, what was at the other end of that tunnel was they had filled the pit with water. And you can't swim in that. That's acidic. Not as acidic as Yellowstone, but it's acidic and it's very dangerous. But it was kind of interesting that the way that they kind of those mines were naturally fed, so they just let them bubble up, and they filled up this thing. So they do a good job with the exposition and explaining how it all works. And then about 20 miles west of there is a place called Anaconda, and that's where the ore used to be shipped by train. A direct line would ship by train, and that's where they would smelt it and separate and get the product.
Nice.
But there's still a lot of stuff in those hills. They just don't mine it anymore.
Talk about thriving company towns.
Yeah.
This was in.
It says Teton.
Teton, yeah. This was a chapel there. It's an iconic spot, and we had a picture of the Mormon house too. It was the Mormon row house. I don't remember if it's still here, but it was interesting when you go through there. There's a big plate glass window behind, like where the chapel, the preacher box would be, and the pulpit, and you can get beautiful vistas right through that. It was very, very interesting just to be there.
And you had to go to Yellowstone.
That was Grand Canyon of the Yellowstones. Yeah, that was a lot of driving in the Yellowstones, a lot of traffic, a lot of construction up in the northern part.
I've never heard it explained as Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone.
That's what it's called.
Really?
That's what it's called. Yeah.
About 5 waterfalls, really some high peaks around it, some lookouts. We went up a big hill, a big mountain to get around it on the way back. And
when you went to Yellowstone, John, did you visit the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone?
We visited the Grand Canyon at one time and Yellowstone at another time.
But you didn't put them both together.
But
well, we paid the extra price and we got the 2-for-1.
Yeah, you got the great deal. The hell's this?
All right, guess. Anybody an aviation expert?
Well, I used to think I was.
So I think it was the Navy commissioned ARCO, the experimental nuclear facility out there, to build a nuclear-powered aircraft. And this was one of the prototype nuclear reactor-powered engines.
That was one engine's worth?
Yes.
That's Jim standing in front of me.
And how big was this airplane going to be, which I assume was never built?
It was never built.
Right.
I don't think they were ever tested in the air.
I don't think it would have got off the ground. I don't care how much nuclear power.
Well, you take one of those big transport planes, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, there was 2 of them. This was one of the 2 engines that were there. But that was also the site of the first nuclear power plant in the United States. And that powered this town of Arco. I think they call it a city, even though it only has 998 people. They call it a city. But it's a very interesting place. It's a very weird place.
Yeah. Okay.
These are our kids. We went into Denver. They had made plans for their summer vacation to be in Denver and Rocky Mountain National Park. So we were able to, our trip actually coincided with them. My son David and his wife Erin and Declan and Courtney are the 2 middle grandkids.
Now, John, you feedback on whatever you're doing. You got feedback. So,
Talk about being adventurous. Those two kids, especially Courtney, the granddaughter,
John.
are fearless.
Yeah.
They did more stuff and had the best time. And we had a lot of fun with them.
Are they tuned in tonight? Because I don't think.
No, I don't think so. They got hockey, no doubt.
Well, that's right. It's archived. It's archived on our site. You'll be able to.
Right. Yep. We'll get it for them.
Show them what they got there. Okay.
Yep. And
I don't know why I did that.
There's us at the top of Pikes Peak. We took the cog rail up, and it was just incredible. That was the one place.
What time of year and what was? John, feedback, John.
I know I'm lost.
I'm gonna mute your when you come back on. I'm gonna mute you until you get back on there.
It was either the very end of July or the very beginning of August.
And what was the temperature?
Up there, it was like
48 or something.
48. Yeah. Wasn't too bad. We didn't hike it by any means.
The arch.
Did you go up? The real question, did you?
Yeah.
You know, I went up many years ago, but I'm claustrophobic now. I don't think I can go up there.
Yeah, that could be a challenge. It's not tight up there. The car going up is, but once you get up there, it's just like a walkway.
Yeah, it's like 10 minutes and they make you come down.
Beautiful view.
I didn't want to go there. I didn't like the reviews I was getting on the area around it, but we did, and we stayed at it wasn't free, but at a casino across the river. It was actually in Illinois.
That's taken from the casino parking lot. Slash campground.
Yeah.
That's right.
It was good.
When
we were there for a couple of nights. But what I found was fascinating about this place, and like many other places that had really good exhibits and videos and stuff, was the backstory. It talked about all the people. I mean, they kind of use this as a stepping off point, but they had an incredible display about how the pioneers or the people that would I forget the word, they would take a steak out there for $18 and try to make it. But it was incredible, though. I think the one thing, and it talked about the homesteaders, and they talk about the Native Americans, and they talk about Lewis and Clark. And we actually, for the first time I ever did a virtual reality thing, you know, when you put the thing over your face and you're automatically immersed and all this stuff. It was actually turned out it was a painting that was on the wall there showing the where the waterfront and the warehouses and people waiting to get on the steps. And it was a whole story of this family getting ready to head west. And it just made that context. And I kept that as I'm trying to reminisce about what we've done this whole time, just to reminisce about the context and the people that we met and the people that were there.
We know it's even more interesting, and I'm sure I haven't checked the comments. John, I see that you're back and I unmuted, but check and see if Walter's got any comments, because this is an engineering marvel. And if you're not familiar with the monument, they built it starting at the left and the right side at the same time, and they met in the middle, and they were 100% accurate.
Yep. Same way you build a stone arch.
Yep.
Bob, we learned there was a video there. They actually had a movie, and it showed real time documentary of this being built.
Yeah.
No such thing as OSHA, no such thing as, harnesses or anything, and no such thing as even a single casualty in that whole project.
Right. Yeah,
I was blown away.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's my Air Force plane.
Yeah, we went to the Air Force Academy when we were near Denver. We took a ride down there one day. My brother had been stationed out somewhere nearby, and we had a blast. We drove around. They have a huge chapel that was basically under wraps. It was being renovated for the next couple of years. I was going
to ask if we went into the chapel.
Yeah. We read the stories, about the different people that came and went and made it or didn't make it, and the things that the students do. And then we took a ride down to the farther end of the campus, and there was an airfield. And all of the freshmen were coming in, and they all get to start right away flying glider planes. And by the time you're a sophomore, you're the ones that are teaching them. And I must have sat there for an hour taking pictures of them and looking at them, and that's what I want to do one day.
Do you know what that is?
That one there, I do. I can't remember though.
It's an A-10 Thunderbolt that was first put in service in 1976.
Oh wow!
Now they just call it the plane on a stick.
That's actually it was nicknamed the Warthog, but it's seen
Okay.
I was going to say Warthog.
used a lot for training purposes too.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, go ahead.
Rocky Mountain National Park.
yeah,
That's above the clouds and below the clouds. We're at somewhere around 14,000 feet up there.
I think so. Yeah, yeah. We took a van tour, a small van tour, and it was kind of a long ride and stuff. And the tour guide kept us entertained, and we saw some things. But then, as we were going up, it was getting crappy. It was cloudy. But then, as luck had it, we got up there and broke through, and it was just so surreal. And then we could look off, and we could see, herds of elk up on the even higher sides of the mountains,
and the number of glaciers.
And the glaciers.
John, got any questions? I'm going to go back to comments to make sure we're not missing.
Yeah,
it.
please. Do.
No, we're good here. Jerry said he'd like to. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Jerry said he'd like to take an RV trip that followed the Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
And Steve said something about that would fit in a C5. Must have been talking about that engine.
Yeah.
So
Let's see what we got.
Arco was the first town.
Earth and Sky statue in the Dakotas. Jerry Plant, US 2 from Upper Peninsula of Michigan to Puget Sound. That sounds like he's giving you the road trip out to the Northwest.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. US 2. Get off 90 or 80. No,
Yeah.
are they the same road then, or is it just?
Yeah, for a section they are. You're right, John.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Stayed away from 70. I know
Ed
that.
Laturco's brother used to design for Chris-Craft. I didn't know that. Is that your brother in Florida, Ed? That's interesting. I didn't know that. We can get him a tour too if he wants to get updated. Bernie, absolutely stunning photography. Thank you.
Thank you.
Walter, loved the colors of the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Laturco engine tester. So he must have guessed on that nuclear.
Yeah.
Jerry, I was stationed not far from Arco. Interesting. The lead requirement. The lead requirement.
The big attraction near Arco is Craters of the Moon.
Craters of the Moon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
National Park. And Craters of the Moon is a recent volcanic activity. It was only 2,000 years ago. Everything else we were looking at was 200 million years ago.
Yeah.
But that was 2,000 years ago.
Wow.
That's a brand new one.
Yeah, basically.
That's when Bob was a teenager.
Exactly. A teenager, and I had hair. Arco was the first town lit by nuclear energy.
It was.
Very good. Wow. Steve says that would fit in a C5. Well, that it probably would. You're right. Jerry says, I was thinking about an RV trip that followed the Oregon Trail. Jerry's got all kinds of good suggestions for you. Oh, he's saying I think he was referring to how cold it might be. All right, Ed's old.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was chilly.
Yeah. Any problems along all this traveling? Good question, Ed. How'd the motorhome perform?
Motorhome performed flawlessly. A side-by-side went by us on a trailer behind a pickup truck and threw up a rock the size of a baseball, and we ended up getting a new windshield in Denver. But other than that, no glitches.
Windshield on the car or windshield on the?
No, on the motor. No, it wouldn't have been that $200 windshield. It was the $5,000 windshield.
Oh, good.
That was covered anyway, right?
Covered by insurance, I hope.
Yeah.
So, you often hear John talk about do it now. Life is short. We don't know what's involved for everybody. What's your recommendation to people who may have looked at all these beautiful photographs, tried in their own mind to imagine what a trip would be like for something like this? What do you say to our fans about the
First
trip?
of all, what I would say is photographs don't do it justice. you're not getting the light, you're not getting the motion, you're not getting that jaw-dropping effect when you come around the corner in the Badlands, or you peek at the Grand Tetons for the first time. You just don't, there's no way to reproduce that. No film, no, doesn't matter what it is. So first and foremost, it's got to be in person. You got to see it with your own eyes. And secondly, you know, it's like having children. If you wait to have children, the world would be desolate. Nobody would ever be able to have children. And I think it's the same with traveling, especially as we're getting older. If you're reasonably healthy and reasonably fit and capable of doing it, do it. You know, I have in the back of my mind that, you know, if Chad will have me, I'm going to go back to work at age 71 if I need to, or 75 or whatever it is. But that's not until then, and that's a ways away. So we're going to do it now.
Yeah. But everybody is, you do you. You know, we did us. We talked to anybody and everybody that was nearby. We weren't obnoxious about it by any means, but you know, we sat at bars to have dinner. We stood in line for you know, talks and stuff like that, and talked to anyone from young children all the way up to rangers and everybody. And everybody has a story. Jim wanted to put that on the back of the coach when we first got it, and I said no. But we heard so many stories of everybody doing what they loved to do in their own way.
One last thought. I used to tell my clients, and I still will tell them that, especially since over the last few years, we've had a lot of first-timers, a lot of newbies, people that have never been and done this, and they want to explore this RV lifestyle, this RV thing. I want to do this RV thing. Well, this RV thing is not one set thing. It's like the biggest buffet in the world. You pick and choose what you want to do and go with it. Like Susan said, you got to do you.
You do you.
That's a great way of explaining it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
we're not big groupie people. We're not big going tours, but we did us.
We are just about out of time. We want to thank you for
taking. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was.
We get to reminisce a bit.
You know, yeah, because pictures taken by individuals are much more meaningful than pictures taken. You know, the postcard pictures.
The Chamber of Commerce. Yeah.
You know, which are all retouched and that type of thing. I mean, but like you said, Jim. When I looked down in that Grand Canyon, I said, this cannot be captured on film, video, or anything until you see it with your eyes, because you look and then you just keep looking, and every time you move your head a second, there's something else to see. I'm sure you'd agree with that.
It's almost, you know, we're from the coast, right? So when you look at the ocean, it's never the same twice.
Right. Yeah.
And it's the same. I never thought it. I didn't know it. It was a great surprise. It was a pleasant surprise. The mountains are the same way.
Yep.
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 Cool.
Yep.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, we thank you very much. And you are welcome back next year after you do your Northwest trip. We'll bring you back.
It may not be next year. We'll see.
We'll keep. I'll be in touch.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
Close out with our sponsor, our good friends at Seacoast RVs, creating family fun on Route 1, elevation and crop park models, Winnebago towables and motorhomes. Go up and see Kenny, Amanda, and Kendra, and Brittany up at Seacoast RV. And we will see you folks next week. Don't forget, next week is, let me just take this off for a second. I'm going to hold you over for a second here. Next week, we have something incredible, absolutely incredible. We are going to have Meckelson's RV as our featured guest, 3 generations, John and Grace Meckelson, who founded the company 55, 60 years ago. They both celebrated their 100th birthday in October. We're going to have John and Grace, maybe in person, maybe by video. We'll have Bruce and I hope Connie Meckelson, and 3rd generation Olivia Meckelson. It's going to be a full hour. We could probably turn it into 5 hours, but everybody spread the word. I'm actually going to publish the announcement for that early because I want to see a real big crowd. But Meckelson's RV, one of the great nerve to dealers. They've been out there for years in East Montpelier, Vermont, and we cannot wait to welcome them to RVing in New England. Catch you guys down the road.
Have a great night, everyone.
This edition of RVing in New England was a presentation of the New England RV Dealers Association. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.